Welcome.
Welcome
to the celebrated nightly news. We're not in sync
We're
tonight.
not in sync, yeah. The celebrated nightly news of Calaveras County. My name's John.
And I'm Sarah. And it must be a Wednesday night.
It is hump day.
It is. It is.
And
we're
I guess
not in sync tonight.
The obvious top of the news is Measure J, right?
That's right. Elections were yesterday, Tuesday, and Measure J won, which was the jail bond measure, which was sort of a really good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, $31 million?
$31 million, that's right. $10 million of it will be used as a matching fund for the state to build a new jail. And they will give us 75% for the 25% match, and the rest of it will go
But that's not certain, isn't it? Isn't this just increase our odds?
It increases our odds. And I believe that particular grant funding cycle starts in January of 2008. And then the rest of it went towards infrastructure and will go towards new sheriff's facilities, new department facilities, and buildings and that type of thing. And then bond insurance. Have to have the bond insurance.
Now, is this your take? And I know we're just trying to get a sense of what the people's mood was. And from watching the polls that we've seen and run and stuff, I thought it was kind of an interesting thing on, yes, this passed by a fairly slim margin.
Yes, it needed 66% of the vote, and it got, 67.47. 0.47, exactly.
Yeah. So less than a percentage of...
Yes.
And I guess if there's a takeaway, I think, for the county as a whole, it's like, yes, we did this, but be parsimonious. Right?
Parsimonious.
Yes. No, I mean, I think that's kind of the mood is like, no, we don't want to see taxes go up.
Exactly.
Yes, we understand this needs to be done, but no, don't think this is a mandate to go and do you think that's fair to say? I think
it's absolutely fair to say.
Yeah, because if you look at some of these threads, people who are against, people and everything else, against on principle and because of what they felt was past governmental errors, fiscal errors in the past. And I think this was kind of one of those things is, no, we're not going to make you pay for those sins now.
Exactly.
You get a pass on this one. Yes, we need to get this done, but...
But in all fairness, I know that the Sheriff Dennis Downham, has actually been trying to get funding for a new jail in multiple different avenues for at least 8 years that I know of.
Right.
So he has exhausted every avenue before coming to the voters.
Right.
And this was something that obviously, because of the state overcrowded prison system, has and the possible receivership that the federal government was actually pushing down on the state earlier this year, that the state made these funds available.
Right.
And so you have to take advantage of them when they're offered.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I think a lot of the behind the scenes, a lot of people don't want to talk about this number, but the past few years with the overcrowding thing is it's become more exacerbated, that the crime rate per thousand in Calaveras County is now higher than San Joaquin County.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's something that nobody in a rural county, or most of us in a rural county like this, you don't want to think that.
You don't think
You don't
about
want to
it.
think that our actual crime rate percentages are actually higher than San Joaquin County, which most people here, you think of, oh yeah, there's another murder down there and everything else.
Exactly.
And we may not have quite the level of violent
the
crime.
same type of crime.
But
the fact
sheer
that the
volume
is
higher.
Is not a good thing.
No, it is not. But I think
not at all.
Don't you think the sense was that they needed to get this passed to some way put a lid on the acceleration of growth in the...
Well, the county is going to grow.
Yeah.
It is growing. It will grow even bigger, and we need the health and services industry. I mean, aspect of the government to grow with it, and who's in the forefront of public safety, and that is the sheriff's department. And they need a jail to put these people in when they're arrested.
I still think the pink tents.
The pink tents?
No, just kidding. The joke, Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Arizona, that he's the sheriff down there that always to lower the recidivism rate, he basically almost publicly humiliates anybody that goes into the system and puts them in tents and pink undies out in the middle of the desert, and
it's like the Yuma Territorial Prison when that was functioning.
Very
you don't
similar.
want to ever go back there,
yeah,
especially in the dead of summer.
And we had talked once ago, I guess it was several months ago, and one of the things that got shot down there in Arizona that I think is kind of a web component to it is he was actually going to put live webcams on all the prisoners, so you could basically watch the prisoners anytime you wanted to. And the courts did strike that down as an invasion of privacy. And his thing was, if you're in here, we own you. You're
exactly. Well, that's a different way of looking at incarceration.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
But I think the hard building costs were probably relatively slim, right?
Possibly, yeah. All you need is a pink tent and
deer fencing and some tents.
Yeah, some barbed wire there.
Now, on the rest of the election results, what do you think of the rest of these? I know there was quite a bit of turnover in the Copperopolis Fire Protection District. And I think there's some new blood into that one.
3 seats were up for election, and the 3 front runners or 3 winners were Walter Ball, John Manis, and Barbara Cheney. And also San Andreas Sanitary District Director, there were 3 seats up for election for that. The 3 winners were, let's see here,
there's a lot of
Don Cuneo, which is a very recognizable name in the county, William Bill Purley, and Tillman J. Sherman, and also Measure J, which was I believe it was a $20 per year parcel tax for the Jenny Lind Veterans Memorial District to build a Veterans Memorial building. That failed, and that is not the first time that one has failed.
Yeah.
So, and that was a 50-50. That's what's interesting about that, is that it was a 50% yes and 50% no, and the odds of that happening are like lightning.
Dead on. 1231 to 1231. I think that is kind of an interesting one.
And that required a 2/3 percentage to passage as well, so that was only 50%. So that's why that didn't pass. So.
And I think if you were on the losing end of any of these elections, then we have an article that may help.
We do?
We do. We have a article by Michael McCraddock. He has a master's in marriage and family counseling and everything else, and we're trying to make a humorous segue, but we try to have an upbeat.
It kind of went.
Yeah, we try to have a little bit of a lighthearted feel to this, but there's times that we realize that bad things happen.
Exactly.
And this one is an article that he wrote. Since it's the proximity to the time-wise to the fires, and people have a lot of profound loss, and I think this is some of the stages of grief, the stages, and it's really a nice read. I think if you're having issues personally, or and I think or maybe if an election loss has touched you. Just kidding.
Oops. Let me get to that article. Actually, I didn't have time to read this yet.
It's very well. It's very well done.
I read the first sentence or the first block of it, and actually, it looked like it was very, very good.
Yeah. The first stage is denial and isolation. Oops, excuse me.
Bless you. Second stage is anger, and third stage is bargaining, and which would commonly, I imagine, take on the aspect of bargaining with God. If you do this, I will do that.
Right.
And fourth stage is depression, and fifth stage is acceptance. And no matter what loss you go through, actually, election loss personal election loss would be kind of personal.
Yeah.
And other
denial
losses,
and isolation.
That's right.
This couldn't have been.
Do a recount. Do a recount. Yes.
Did Gore suffer from that?
Yeah, possibly.
No, just kidding.
Ballots
just kidding. No hanging chads here.
Yes.
Anger.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 2. Bargaining. Depression.
And then acceptance.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound like a very victorious path.
Acceptance? When you accept things, it's very victorious.
You're right. It's
once you finally accept them as they are. See. Okay, that's enough of our... It's a really good article.
But it's a very nice article. It is very well written. Definitely worth a read. And we feel very fortunate that he's going to be supplying us with some articles on probably at least a couple times a month. that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And also, did you want to talk about the groundwater management plan
All right,
meeting?
there is a groundwater plan update meeting Wednesday evening, which is tonight in Valley Springs, and we happy to say that the PineTree.net is our. As we slowly grow,
that's right. We have
a
people
crew.
out there.
They're going to be filming this meeting, so we'll have it up there because I know there's a lot of interest, especially with the ridge at Trinitas and everything else coming up. Water will probably be a prime topic.
That's right.
I would say for the foreseeable future here for a while. And
it's important to point out this is groundwater management plan update instead of surface water.
Right.
And usually CCWD is associated with surface water.
And I think, and in some ways, aren't we in they have to start managing this stuff because we're in a use it or lose it
situation, but that's what the surface
with the surface.
Groundwater is a whole different set of fish right there.
But I think from talking to one of the CCWD directors is there's a lot of, and we touched briefly on this a couple weeks ago, is there's a lot of intricacies to this on formulas on how you're going to recharge the aquifer.
Yes, exactly.
There's different.
Once you start mixing the surface water with the groundwater through the recharging process, which is essentially just putting it back in the ground.
Kind of like a giant Brita pitcher.
Yes. That's right, it is. And you just pour it right back.
And it goes back.
That's right.
There you go.
Pour it right back in the ground. Once you start mixing the surface and the groundwater, then the allocations get sort of interesting, convoluted as well. So.
And I think as our counties, in the best interest of our county, though, the stuff that's coming to the forefront is there are people that want our water.
Yes.
East Stockton District, various other things. So I think we have to start being cognizant of the fact that we need to manage the stuff that's flowing through the county.
That's right.
To make sure that we don't.
Actually, the county, the supervisors actually looked at this issue, again, 7 or 8 years ago. And it is sort of an ongoing issue. They haven't looked at it really in depth recently, but at one point there was some talk about the people from the different water districts from the lower Central Valley, coming up to Calaveras County and getting their water from wells. So that was an interesting discussion, to say the least.
And if you travel around a bit, you notice that some of the political races, for example, down in Oakdale, driving through there, they're actually selling some of their water rights because to other, there's all these signs that say don't sell our water and all these other different interesting things.
That's right. Water, it will continue to be interesting and
now
worth following.
Sarah Lunsford this morning was part of a little ceremony up here in Arnold.
That's right.
Weren't you?
I was.
Now she, in another life, is the one of the head honchos of the Veterans Board, right?
Well, I'm not actually a head honcho.
Well, okay.
I am a member of the board.
Yes, a member of the board.
Of its past Veterans Memorial District Board, which actually it's an elected office.
An elected office.
It is an elected office. There are, I believe, 5 different Veterans Memorial Districts in the county, and they are special districts, and basically they survive and exist to honor veterans. So what the board chose to do with the help and actually not only the help, but sort of the cooperative effort with the fire station was to build a Veterans Memorial actually on the new fire station.
It's a very nice
property.
So their flagpole there is part of the.
The flagpole is part of the memorial, and then it's worth going and taking a look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Station
now,
1, the new Station 1 up there.
Who are the parties involved here? This is maybe a little hard to see on cable, but if you go to the PineTree.net, we have a big picture of it.
This is actually Chief Warren Welks, and this is Al Napier. He's a board member, and there's me. And then there's
Sarah's right there in the middle.
That's right. See? I'm right there.
She's the token female.
I'm the token female on the board. And then this is Vice Chair Dick Elliott, and this is Jim Carlin, and this is Jack Anderson. And it's interesting, the configuration of these boards, because you have to have 3 members of the board having had been veterans
Military
or served.
service,
Exactly,
huh?
military service. And you can have 2 at-large non-military service people, but we're very fortunate that we have 4 of our board members actually have served in the military. So it's a good thing, and Veterans Day is this weekend, or Monday actually. Is it Monday?
This is just one of several projects that you guys have around the county.
We facilitated the building of the Feeney Park Veterans Memorial, and then there's one at White Pines Park, and then there's a really big one we've been trying for 2 years to get it off the ground at Murphy's Park.
Where they can
in
buy
front
bricks?
of the library, where you'll be eventually able to buy bricks to honor your loved ones. So that's what the board's working on.
See, and I want to apologize. This is kind of going back a couple minutes ago for my sneeze again. See, I haven't sneezed all day.
It's only when
I'm sitting next to Sarah.
Yes.
So I don't. It must be something
in the air.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when I sit next to Sarah, I sneeze.
I changed my perfume.
I
and he still sneezes.
I know. So
I
anyway,
don't know. I
hadn't sneezed once today.
So.
But anyway, it's go by there. It's a very nice. And now the 6 branches are.
Let's see here. Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard.
Oh, and National Guard.
National Guard.
I know isn't the National Guard technically not, but it's.
But it's still, yeah.
Hey, all those guys are over there.
Exactly. They're sending them, so they're veterans.
Yeah.
So they should be honored too. So find a veteran this weekend and
thanks
say
for working
thank
on
you.
that board, and thank you. Yeah, we owe our veterans a debt that none of us can ever repay, and I know personally. As I see the numbers from the World War II generation start dwindling, it's a tough thing to see because, and what was some of those things like? What was that number that we're losing? Like 500,000 of them a year now. I mean, as far as that generational, or some huge. Maybe that's the number's raw, but I know it's a big number. It's a big number.
It is huge.
And you figure over the next probably 5 or 6 years, we're going to lose most of them.
Yes.
And that was a special generation. It really, I know that's a cliche to say, but it's
absolutely.
I know any branch of service in any war was very honorable, but I just personally to see that generation, to see that generation go is
exactly. And actually, on that tenor, we have actually at the Calaveras County Main Library in San Andreas on Thursday a really cool presentation.
Ken Burns
video conferencing at the San Andreas Library. And
kind of high tech.
It's very high tech.
We like high tech.
And his most recent documentary is The War. It's about World War II. And it was co-produced by Lynn Novick. And they interviewed hundreds of men and women for the PBS special, 14.5-hour PBS special. But at this presentation, you'll be able to actually interact with Ken Burns, which is very cool.
Very nice.
And I do want to go through a list of. He's not only done the war, he's done the Civil War, he's done movies about baseball, jazz, Lewis and Clark, Mark Twain, the West, Frank Lloyd Wright, and his series are just phenomenal.
And he's even, if some of you are into amateur videography and that type of thing, is some of his techniques. For example, if you have a still photo and have it slowly move off to the right, it's called the Ken Burns effect, and it's a way to make historical photos and everything to have more interest and appeal as a stock photo rather than than just having it sitting there as a static object. So nice. I mean,
it's very nice. And the time for that is 5:45 to 7:30 p.m.
And this is kind of one of those things, is we were posting, as if you drop by the site for the pine trees, every week we do the Big Trees Market ad, right? And the thing that struck me is there's all these, maybe not on this page, but this is, you're getting close to the holiday season when you have eggs, C&H sugar, gold medal flour,
all going on
all
sale.
the stuff on sale. And then if you go over in here and all these fudge supplies, and I thought it was kind of, here we go. Here, look, we've got cane sugar, Nestle's morsels, and if you've made your fudge there, they've got Jet Puff marshmallows. So if you're doing the marshmallow fudge or the cream jar,
that's right.
Which
the easy fudge.
Yes. Now, I was just wondering, on the Eagle brand sweetened condensed milk, the vanilla extract. I mean, look at this whole page.
Wow.
I mean, doesn't that have Thanksgiving just written all over it?
It sure does.
You got graham cracker pie crust.
Well, Thanksgiving's only 2 weeks away.
I know, but it was just really, if you're putting up the grocery ad, it's like, man, it's here.
Yes.
And is it purely from a product planning perspective? Products like jet puffed marshmallows. Yeah. What do they sell? Like 90% of them during the holiday.
Probably.
We're talking the liquids, the stuff in the jar. It's like you're not going to take it camping. Here, I'm going to pour.
Watch as it lumps out.
Yeah. And I doubt yeast is as big a seller.
So the holidays are just around the corner. The Gateway holiday, Halloween, has come and gone very quickly, I might add.
Carnation evaporated milk, 10 for $10.
Okay.
There you go.
Not a problem. Okay.
All right, we'll get off the grocery ad there.
That's right.
But I just thought it was, it's kind of indicative of the season.
That's right. So stock up now.
Yeah. I mean, like, now when you really need that Eagle sweetened condensed milk, right?
That's right.
In July, you probably don't need it as much. Well, for ice cream.
It tastes good no matter what time of the year.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So anyway, on to state news. There's a couple of headlines. One is from the LA Times and the San Francisco Chronicle. Governor teeters on edge of deficit abyss. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger swept into office in 2003, promising to end the state's pattern of crazy deficit spending, cut up the government credit cards for good, and force the state to finally live within its means. So much for that. Experts say the state's spending habits are no more restrained than they were when Schwarzenegger arrived in Sacramento 4 years ago. And I'm just going to read this very, very quickly. Electoral vote measure has a $538,000 kitty.
Wow.
So this should be very interesting. This is from the Sacramento Bee. For proponents of a ballot measure to change how California tallies its electoral votes in presidential elections, hope came Tuesday in the form of more than $538,000 in campaign contributions. The cash infusion is critical as backers of the controversial measure race to gather signatures to place the measure before voters on the June 2008 ballot.
This is huge.
They are paying signature gatherers as much as $3 per name. And actually, that is not unusual for propositions to be paying signature gatherers per signature.
As long as they don't sign up dead people and.
That's right.
Yeah.
And pets.
Yes.
And also Gavin Newsom in San Francisco is back for a second term.
There we go.
Oh, who wouldn't have thought that was coming?
Yeah. And also a little bit of national news. The dollar is continuing to slide. And kind of interesting things from Sarkozy, French President Sarkozy, saying that the dollar's decline risks triggering economic war, which is, if you have an unstable dollar, then it really puts in flux a lot of things.
A lot of things, absolutely.
Another thing, that kind of an interesting thing is Pat Robertson has endorsed Giuliani. And if Giuliani has obviously been doing some behind-the-scenes maneuvering, because his main weakness going forward for solidifying the Republican vote is his views on abortion and everything else.
Right.
And now that he has one of the poster children for the religious right.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. And I was...
And if you've noticed, a little bit of stuff on Obama is really coming back
He's
out
going
and really
at,
going at
He's
it.
going after Hillary.
Yeah, it's really...
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Because it's still, actually, it's very early in the election season. Still, when you look at it.
It's a year out.
It's very early in the election season. So we'll see what happens with that. And also, fat is healthy.
Oh, that's right. Oh, we were going to do it. Fat is the new fit.
That's right. Fat is the new fit.
If you want to look buff.
Overweight people have lowest death rates.
See?
That's not obese people or underweight people or average weight people. That is overweight people.
So it's not the six-pack ab, it's the unipack.
That's right. The
right?
unipack.
The unipack or the backpack.
Backpack. Backpack in the front pack.
Yeah,
yes.
It's just that, that smooth, unified, uniform look. You don't want those unsightly bulges, right?
No, you don't want muscles.
Yeah,
no, absolutely not. But apparently, according to a study that they have been doing over many years now, they have determined that people who are overweight have the lowest death rate.
Wow.
Which is just not what you would think.
Well, you know what it is? It's not an accurate survey, it's just sheer numbers.
It is sheer numbers, yeah.
So since the percentage, the overall percentage is so large, you look at I'm just kidding.
Pound,
percentages that are passing away. Yeah. All right, never mind.
Okay. Weather. Let's go to weather.
2 minutes of weather.
2 minutes of weather. Okay, Arnold weather. Thursday day, sunny, 67 degrees. Friday, mostly sunny at 57 degrees. And Saturday, 30% chance of rain at 55 degrees.
Bear Valley has the forecast has changed a bit since last night. Last night there was no snow in the forecast. Now there is.
Wow.
Low of 41, high of 61 tomorrow. High of 53 with a 20% chance of rain on Friday. And Friday night, a 20% chance of rain. Then on Saturday, you have a 40% chance of rain or snow. And on Saturday night, a 40% chance of rain or snow.
Wow.
And a slight chance on Veterans Day. And we got snow. We got flakes in the forecast.
Flakes in the forecast. And Murphy's, Thursday, sunny with a high of 77 degrees. Friday, mostly sunny with a high of 67 degrees. And Saturday, 30% chance of rain with a high of 64 degrees.
Angels Camp, a high of a sunny 73 degrees tomorrow. 65 degrees on Friday. 42 degrees is the low with a 30% chance of rain on Friday night. So at Angels Camp / San Andreas, rather, we may get a bit wet for the big game.
That's right.
So if you're going to the big game,
bring an umbrella.
A parka. Make sure it's either a red or a purple one, right?
That's right, for the big game.
The big game.
And did we find out if KCR3?
KCRA3? It looks like the Argonaut Amador took it by a couple of votes. But I would bet that they're going to send a crew. You don't get 70,000 votes on or 120,000 votes combined on two school polls.
Yeah, that's true. That's
in towns that have about 10,000 people in them. You send a crew.
Exactly.
Send a crew, right? I mean,
that's right. Valley Springs weather, Thursday, high of 71 degrees, a little cloudy. Friday, 64 degrees, a little cloudy. And Saturday, there's a little bit of a question mark, but it will be 63 degrees, apparently.
For our friends in Bangor, Maine, we thank you for tuning yet again tonight. 48 degrees for the high was your high today, 25 the low, 41 and 22 on Thursday, 43 and 24 on Friday, and 41 and 26 on Saturday.
Wow.
And we thank you very much. Okay. We appreciate you stopping by the Nightly News, and we will be back mañana.
That's right.
With our weekly
weekend update.
Tell you what to do. Even if you won't listen to us.
That's right.
Good night.
Good night.